And we're back with the Costello Coaching Podcast. I am here with Brad Boyer for our second episode in this 10-part series. Brad, for those that didn't listen to the first episode, phenomenal hitting coach, world class, works with some of the best big leaguers in the game, MVPs, all-stars, has helped countless players go from the college to the pros, minor leaguers to big leaguers, helps young talent all the way down to 10 years old. And someone who's that diverse sees so many different types of players, so many different types of swings, and can communicate with all levels. That's a unique person. So there's endless insights that Brad is going to offer us in these conversations. We're very close friends. I respect him so much. So I'm so excited to have you back for episode 2.
Thank you, T-Dog.
Yeah, this is great, man. So before we started rolling, we were talking about a player and how his girlfriend is impacting him right now in his season. And I think a lot of young players, I mean, relationships are something that all humans deal with, right? Yeah. Dealing with relationships. But getting it started, probably not centered around hitting, but how, relationships and how these young players, when they have girlfriends, kind of going through that journey as a high school, college kid, what kind of advice would you offer to a kid that's, dealing with some girlfriend issues?
Yeah, especially when you go off to pro ball or college or even in high school, it's being able to manage. Look, we're emotional creatures, and for me, I take after my mom. I'm pretty hypersensitive, and so I think when you're dealing with relationships, and especially the sport of baseball, which there's so much failure, and your relationship at sometimes can be, the communication's off, and your girlfriend's not, really, she's not happy with that, or because this game takes a lot of dedication. And for me, one thing I can offer, and it's how you, because baseball, you got to look at it as this is your dream is to become a big leaguer. That's your craft. And it's hard to manage. I didn't know how to manage. I was the only child. I didn't know how to manage. My dad was my psychologist. I would go to him on my relationships because he saw me go through the ups and downs. I would, maybe, your girlfriend's at Coachella and she doesn't, text you back, and then you're in the locker room and you're worried about that instead of the discipline or the having the strength to be able to go and put that to the side. And for me, there's one story going back to when I was at U of A, and my college coach, Mark Wazakowski's at Oregon. Tommy's got a guy, Isaiah Hearn, that is actually going there. And Waz is a hard-nosed guy, but he's very sarcastic. And he's like, Boyer, because as being an All-American, my freshman year, the sophomore year, I was in the sophomore slump. He's like, B, there's good luck and bad luck chicks. And I think you got a bad luck chick. He had no sympathy for, what I was going through, because I ended up, I was sitting on the bench, and now I was like, the defensive replacement at the end of the game. That was
as an All-American the year before.
Yeah, so I'm as a freshman, I not only did I was one of the top guys in the Pac-10. I led the league in stolen bases that year over Jacoby Ellsbury. Things were rolling. Things were really rolling. And the sophomore year comes around. I think I was playing with expectations, right? And now I'm in my second year of my first ever girlfriend. She's at Cal Poly, and gosh, man, understanding how to deal with long distance and having to find balance. I didn't understand that. I was go to my craft, and I like to have a little fun as well. There was a couple special places I like to go out with my buddies. When I was in Tucson. But man, that sophomore year, I'll tell you this. So I'm hitting 240. Waz like, Boyer, every weekend, good luck, bad luck chick. He's like, you still got that bad luck chick, don't you? I was like, yeah, Waz. And I got a little, and I'd get a little defensive. I'm a little sensitive in that way. And well, anyways, I'm hitting 240. We're playing UCLA. So got all the family and the boys in town. Wow, you want to put on a performance. And my girlfriend at the time comes from, drives up from Cal Poly. Well, I ended up going probably over 4 with 2 punchies. I'm not really happy about that. And so my buddy that's the shortstop at Ryan McCarthy that went to Westlake, he's the shortstop. And we had the same hitting coach, Craig Wollenbrock, who's like the godfather. And he was working with my agency, and he's like, Brad, let's go to the ball yard. The ball yard's where like Justin Turner and Doug Lott are at. So this is like the OG spot. And I tell my girlfriend, I was like, hey, I know you drove up a long ways, but I need to go work on my swing. Like this is my agent's in town. I know there's family and they're expecting me to go eat, but this is my craft. This means the world to me. Like I'm gonna go do some hitting. She didn't like that answer. I was getting an earful. You know, when there's parents and my buddies around, they're like, "Oh, B, come on, man!"
She was letting you have it.
Letting me have it. Now I'm 19 years old. I don't know how to handle this or have that mature conversation. So for me, I ended up I was like, I'm going and I'm going to go drive in my buddy's car from UCLA. You can follow us. Probably not the best way to handle things, but I didn't know. So we get to the ball yard, and when you come into the ball yard, there's a nice cozy couch to sit down on. We go into the video room. I said, hey, just sit back here. We're going to get some swings and kind of look at what's going on. It was still early. So we're about 20 minutes in. We're digging in on some video of looking at Chase Utley and bat path and how he's using the ground. And all of a sudden, I look back. She's like, Brad, I did not drive all the way out here, 3 hours, and you leave me out on the couch to do. And Craig just looks. We look back, and she goes, I'm out of here. I said, okay. This is something I got to lock in. I'm sorry. And she takes off. Well, there's no Uber. I mean,
Where'd she go?
Back to the hotel, and we were staying in a hotel at the Marriott Marina Del Rey. So I'm like, oh man, Craig, can you drive me back to like the hotel? And so as we're driving back, Craig's just like, I've never seen anything like that in all my years. She came into the video room and let me have it. And that right there is.
Did you guys break up?
Didn't go well for the next couple weeks. My baseball was still probably a little bit, on the rocky side. I was trying to manage this emotional roller coaster, and I didn't want to see her unhappy, but I was just I was in a state of depression where my season was going. So first time I was having real failure. And what wasn't my swing? There might have been some minor mechanical stuff, but I didn't have that wiffle ball mentality that we go back to, or that 100 million, or that fuck you mindset. Because when you play this game, you got to have a little fuck you in you. Excuse my language, but that did not happen. I struggled off and on in managing the relationship. We stayed in it. Now, that fuck you mentality didn't come till I started working with a guy named Dave Austin. Dave Austin is a mental performance coach, and this was probably finally when I changed my mindset. Was when we were in super regionals playing Long Beach State, when they had Tulowitzki, Jason Vargas, Jared Weaver, Evan Longoria. We were 5th place in the pack, barely squeaked in, and we're now on ESPN playing in the super regionals. And I had my fuck you mentality back. I had that that $100 million mindset. The relationship was doing better, but I got into that mode again, T. I had to switch it because we got to know how we got to clear out the noise to be able to perform at our best, right? Because we're always going to there's going to be family stuff, girlfriend stuff, but that fuck you mindset, that Navy SEAL mindset, and doing my visualization, going through my prep, that locked me back in. We ended up going to the College World Series.
Nice. So you turned around that sophomore year. That was when you went to the College World Series?
Yeah, I turned it around during the super regionals, and because I didn't play, I was the defensive replacement. Now, the year before at my freshman year, I was an All-American, but I led the pack in errors, 25 errors at third base at the hot corner. Now I'm the defensive. The irony is I'm the defensive replacement because I can't hit worth shit now, but I can go and defend because I was like, if I could steal bases, and I worked my butt off to not lead the league in errors again. Now the next year I had maybe 1 or 2 errors, and I was the defensive replacement. So that's what I was doing most of the season. Then you get in at bat off a closer, you punch out, you want to hang your head, but till I started working with Dave and got that mindset, that $100 million mindset, I ended up going off in the super regionals, and that took us to the College World Series, and we didn't win it, but what I'm saying is managing relationships or the outside noise, and I call it the I don't give a fuck mentality. Sorry, but that's something like when you step on the box to perform, that right there, it sets a different tone in your body.
Yeah, for sure. Like that mindset when you step to the plate is everything, That's crazy. So in short, what would you, not that this is a podcast about relationship advice. It's not, but more so like players that are maybe distracted by their girlfriend or managing a tough relationship and they're distracted during the game or before the game. What if as a 42-year-old man versus a 19-year-old man, what would the 42 Brad tell the 19-year-old Brad on how to handle that situation with the girlfriend?
Well, look, there's thing if it's meant to happen, and that's the one let's say that's your high school sweetheart and you're going to marry and it's meant to happen, it's going to meant to happen. There's going to be, for me, telling 19-year-old Brad would be like, Brad, look, there's so much life ahead of you. But when we look at like we're in that state of fear, like I don't know, she might break up with me. I don't know if I'm like, that feeling of loss is the worst feeling. But when you're able to when you live with gratitude and you have some purpose in that, and I think that's what kind of changed it for me. And telling younger guys is to be grateful every day you wake up, to be able to breathe the air. We're not at war. You get to go play baseball. You have great friends. Like this relationship, if it's going to work, it's going to work, So communication and being able to communicate effectively and not reacting, getting in that reactionary mode.
Do you feel like you overreacted or like what created her overreaction? And then like, cause I want guys to be able to be like, be able to handle those things. Cause like I think the worst advice, I'll give you this. We'll start with the worst advice.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the best advice to offer in this arena.
Yeah.
But I think the worst advice that guys give is no girlfriends. No girlfriends. No girlfriend. You got to just be focused, do your thing. I get that. Like I get where that philosophy comes from. But my approach to it is like, no, like if you learn how to like, not so much manage it, but you're more than baseball. Like you're more than your work. Like your life outside of baseball is important. Well, so like learn how to operate in both arenas. But there is like this disassociation that you got to be present and grateful, I think is what you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
When you're in the arena. So like when you're on the field, you got to be present there. And then when you're with the girlfriend, you got to be present there. But then there's also got to be some boundaries that you set and say like, no, like when I'm here, we're playing UCLA. I need to be focused on my game. I need to be focused on my swing. Like I'm going to go work with Wallenbrock. That's what I'm here to do. Like I get you're here too.
Yep. For driving all the way out.
I get that. And we'll get dinner tonight.
Yeah.
But this is like really important to me.
Yeah. I think,
is that the way you would have approached it?
Yeah. I didn't handle it I didn't even communicate. That was just, it was very spontaneous I should have, cause that was kind of the game plan. I was going to do that and should have made that clear. I didn't know how to communicate that at the time where, I think my dad's been a great influence on me on handling things and staying calm and explaining, but I never was clear. So it's like, if you're managing your girlfriend, just be clear. Like, hey, this is my schedule. Like I'm going to come and train with Tommy. I want to be a college ball player. I'm going to put my swings in. I'm going to be the best I can, but let's be a team together. Let's not fight each other on this. So I think in relationships, we get resentment because I think the communication goes wrong instead of when we can be clear and say, hey, let's be a team together.
Yeah. You need a teammate.
Yeah.
You need a teammate. Speaking of teammates, who was your favorite teammate that you ever played with?
Wow. That's, played with a lot of great ones. Well, I would have to say, Pablo Sandoval was a special character. I mean, some of my best friends are my closest teammate. I mean, Tyler Graham was very special. A guy went to Oregon State. But Pablo Sandoval was the Kung Fu Panda. He wasn't that yet, but he just had this joy, passion. And when he was in the locker room putting his Latin music on, the guy's dancing, doing la salsa. Like, this is like, he's going out playing over the line. Well, I'm thinking about, how can I get 2 hits and grind today? Pablo was teaching me, the Latin way of how to turn a double play, how to be loose with your hands, not be so rigid, and be, and the guy would just show up and play like it was a kid's game, and big smile on his face. I mean, the guy raked too.
So you were really attracted to like what you knew should have been like your game.
Yeah.
And you were naturally like pulling yourself away from that, but you probably wanted to be more like that, huh?
Yeah. I played, I don't think anybody would know, but I deal with some anxiety of performance anxiety. I mean,
I think a lot of guys do. It's more so about like managing it and how to work with it rather than saying it's wrong or right.
I didn't embrace the nerves. I was fighting them. It was great. I love these big moments, but to see, when we watch Pablo go out there and, the guy comes up and, strikes out. He's not hanging his head. He's still laughing. He's hanging out. Me, I want to throw my helmet, guys. I want to rip my batting gloves off. And did I do that? Yeah. I went in the tunnel. I kicked trash cans over at times. I played with a lot of fire. I had a lot of emotion. Pablo, very rare saw him, lose his mind over stuff. And so that was what I was attracted to, gravitate, that right there, that kind of energy. But I had the anxiety. I was worried about if I make a mistake, if I do, oh no, am I going to be in the lineup tomorrow or this? And it was, Pablo wasn't worrying. He was out there, like I said, playing backyard baseball. And you saw that in the big leagues. He became a master, the Kung Fu Panda. The guy was an absolute entertainer. And so that, for me, we all want to have fun playing this game, right? And that's the hardest thing is we create expectations. It's about performance. What about the joy? What about playing like it's a kid's game?
Yeah, I think part of playing like a kid's game is playing with your friends and building relationships. And I think this whole episode is all about like how to manage relationships, how to work with relationships, how to thrive in relationships, and the relationships that you have outside of the game, within the game. They're very impactful on your career.
Yeah,
like I even think of my brother right now. Like he's in spring training, and it's his second year at spring training. And the first year at spring training, you get thrown in the La Quinta Inn, and it's they check you in. They're like, you're going to be here for 52 nights. And he's like, what, 52 nights?
Oh, yeah. I remember those days.
Yeah. And you pull up with a roommate. You have no idea who it is. And, he's a fellow ball player, but he's not your buddy. You just like, it's a work guy. And like, you're there in this tiny little hotel room for 50 nights with him. And
we could go back to
and so but anyways, like he built relationships throughout the season, made friends, and they all kind of connected, and they're renting an Airbnb all together in Arizona this year, and he's hanging out, and it's fun, it's way more enjoyable, and then you perform better, and then you go play better, and it just says a lot for guys that it is important to build relationships with your teammates. It's what it's about. Yeah. It's probably the thing that you love most about the game and playing the game was the relationships that you built with your teammates. I know for me, like college baseball, that was the best part, was the friendships I made. That was the best part. Like winning, losing, good games, dominating, whatever. Like you can go back and kind of look at the newspaper clippings and like find those days and be like, yeah, that was cool. But like, dude, the best thing was when so-and-so did this night and we did that and we were on this road trip, I think for guys too, like that are hungry, trying to always find the best knowledge or information to get better at the game. Like it's okay to just sit back and enjoy your buddies.
Camaraderie.
And if you feel better and you're hanging out with your buddies and you feel good, you'll probably play good.
Yeah, that's 2008 when I was playing with the San Jose Giants, I performed at my best. It was a breakout year. It was my second year in pro ball. I was living with a host family in Los Gatos up by Stanford. Beautiful home. I mean, we had, downstairs we had the pool table, a shuffleboard table. video game system. We had a wine cellar. Then up top in the backyard, we had the full on batting cage. We had a fire pit. And all of a sudden, that's my host family. Next thing you know, there's 4 other guys. We're on sleeping bags, sleeping together down in the basement. But those are the moments right there.
Did you play really good that year?
Oh my gosh. That was the year I was hitting close to 350, almost 3.
I think it directly correlates.
It correlates.
Like what you go home to, the relationships that you have outside the game, the relationships you have with your teammates, that's everything.
Yeah. I mean, this family was incredible. They had 2 boys that ended up playing baseball at Cal Poly. One played pro ball, and they had 2 daughters that were in college. They'd come back from the summer, and I remember my boy Tyler Graham and a couple of us other guys were, Tyler would text him like, "Hey, can we get an omelet, some pancakes this morning?" And the one daughter, she was super cool. She'd make us breakfast. I mean, we'd have this. It was like eating a buffet at the Four Seasons. You'd wake up and you'd come home after the game, and these parents we'd be hanging out with their friends. We'd be eating, be like being at, the Blake Rutherford house. And, you got Tom and your and your mom. And, you have this buffet of food and you're hanging out in the camaraderie. You're taking your mind off the game. But that right there, I don't know what, there was a different energy. Like you wake up, you felt amazing going to the ballpark.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's perfect. I love it. I think the things to take away from this episode is, if you're dealing with relationships, number one, communication. Communication's key. Being clear, being always on top of the communication, whether that's with your parents, with your coaches, with your girlfriends, with your teammates. Communication's number one.
Absolutely.
Over communicating how you're feeling, what you're going through, what you're working on, what your plans are, what your schedule is. And 2, just embracing the teammates that you have, learning about the teammates. Even though Pablo Sandoval was from a different place in the world, totally different way of going about it. I think what you enjoyed most about him was you leaned into him. You leaned into his salsa dancing, the way he turns double plays, the way he's loose, the way he's free. And I think that's why you enjoyed him the most, because you had that ability to lean into, where he's from and what he does. So within the game of baseball, utilize your opportunity to build relationships with all different types of people all across the world, which I got an opportunity to do too. And then learn how your work is at the field or in the gym. And it's okay to have relationships outside of it and a life outside of it.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think a lot of guys get buried in this is the only thing that I do. And then when the game's over, and they're done playing, they don't know how to operate within this world.
Yeah. They go into that one track mindset, right? And it's, I think these experiences, they teach us a lot about life, right? The relationships while you're playing as a baseball player, or we're in this competitive environment. But when you're done with the game, we got to leave it back at the house, right? Leave it back at the field, right? And be able to be a great husband, boyfriend, or, be able to have, a loving relationship with your parents instead of being in this resentful, dark place. Because I know I got in those places where I was didn't want to talk to anybody. I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Or I'd sit in front of the mirror all night and be looking at my swing,
Yeah. If you're a minor leaguer now, what would you tell yourself? I think that's the best. Listen, the reason I bring this question up, and you'll hear it quite a few times when we do these podcasts together, is because the guys hear the stories. When I was a player, I heard the stories. I heard the stories of what these guys were talking about. Oh man, I shouldn't have done this. I should have done that. I was doing this and I shouldn't have done that. But the best thing is to say, all right, how would you coach Brad at that time now? And how much different do you think it would have changed the results for you? Yeah.
Personally, I never got to really, enjoy all those years I played, Sure, I enjoyed a game-winning hit, or having a great year, but I never really got to go out and just play loose and have fun. I never got to have that feeling of God, I love this. It was always a business. It was always about, I got to get to the big leagues, because that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a big leaguer. And I knew I could do it. Just went about it the wrong way a little bit. On my best moments, it was when I just played free. But when you start struggling, that's the challenge. Can you still go out there and have fun, man? And have fun, enjoy playing. We get so caught up on wanting to do so well in our performance. If you have fun, it's going to take a lot of pressure off your back.
Yeah. Think about, too, if you're a player, think about what makes the game fun. I always like talking that way. What makes the game fun? When I do this, it makes the game fun. Then make your work about that, about creating that result.
Yeah.
If that result brings joy to you, if it's about being with your teammates, if it's about going out to eat after the game, then make sure you go out to eat after the game.
Yeah.
Like, do the things that make it fun and make it enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think when I, like, after the game, when I, instead of just going back to the hotel room and I hung out with my buddies and you were able to be able to share your thoughts of what was going on, it kind of just loosened you up, or, when I'd show up to the park and we're in stretch and I'm laughing, I'm having a good time, that's when I was performing at my best. I was living in the moment,
Yeah, and I feel like, too, like, if I'm being honest, I think the laughing while you're stretching and being loose creates the good performance rather than the good performance creating the laughing while you're stretching.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's a good spot to close it up.
Yeah.
And next episode, we're going to be back. I want you to dive into all the guys that you work with, and I want you to do some homework before the next time we sit down. And I want one thing that makes them great. So if it's Yelich, if it's Braun, Moustakas, Blake, Wes, these guys, like, what's the one thing that makes them great?
Absolutely, TL. I'll be looking forward to it.
All right.